What's up, Glue Dots? I'm Elaine, the Midnight Crafter. In this video, I've got a couple of beautiful and elegant glam DIYs for you. So let's get right to it and start crafting. The very first thing I'm going to do is take this outside and give it a couple coats of this Rust-Oleum white. And you can, if you choose to, you can paint this with chalk paint and a brush. I just really like using spray paint because it's so much quicker, and then I can do other things while I'm waiting for it to dry. While we're waiting for that to dry, I have printed out the word Noel, and I have a link for this below if you would like to print out this. I'll also leave you the word joy in case you want to do that one. So go ahead and cut these letters out. Now, I didn't cut out the middle of the O because it is virtually impossible to cut it out of the plastic that we're going to be using. So we're just going to leave that as it is. Even as it is, it's a little difficult to get this part of the E out, which we're going to have to kind of play with that a little bit. But we're going to put these aside for a little bit, and we're going to take our silver tray here and cut this outer rim off of it. And you want to have just the flat part. So go around this inner edge here and get this entire bottom part cut out. Next, what we're going to do is take our letters and trace them on the back side of this, I don't know, platter base, whatever you want to call it. And for that, you can use whatever you want that will show that you'll be able to see, but these chalk pens from Dollar Tree work really, really well for this, being white. Trace completely around it as close to the line of the paper. We're going to do this for all of our letters, and then once you get them done, we're going to also trace it out in reverse. So find another spot and trace that out, and try and save, condense as best you can to get as many of these on as possible. Once you have all of those traced out and the flip side of them as well, we're going to sit and cut them out. Now, this can be, as I said, a little bit tricky, so it may be easier to just cut out, kind of rough cut out the piece you're going to be cutting, and then do the little finer cutting after that. The other thing is, in order to get these to match as best as possible, for me, I use that chalk pen, so it's a very thick line, but I know that my paper was covering, so I'm going to cut on the inside of that line, and then they should match up pretty well. For the E, as I mentioned, with this part that's a bit tricky, I'm actually going to use my Exacto knife, and I'm going to cut right along that inside line and score my piece, and then snap it off afterwards. So I've scored it here, and then I'm gonna just give it a couple bends, and it snaps off pretty well. Okay, so you now should have the front and back duplicate of each. So either way you look at it, you will have the silver on each letter. In case you guys didn't see my last project, these little scraps would be perfect for that. I'm going to leave an iCard for my last project so you can check it out if you want to save these scraps and not just toss them. You can definitely reuse them. Now, just when you thought you were done cutting out letters, we're not done. Now we're going to be taking our piece of foam cord, and we're going to be cutting out each letter out of that one time as well. Now for this, you guys, I discovered something. You probably all already know this, but I just discovered this and I'm so excited. So I usually have been using this Exacto knife, and I have to change the blade and I just haven't done it. But when I cut, I get a really jaggedy, kind of funky edge, like you can see right here. Well, I happen to be lucky enough to find the little, I don't know what you call them, razor knives or whatever they're called at Dollar Tree. And so I thought I would try using that one to see how it would work out. And oh my goodness, cutting foam core with a sharp blade, no comparison, night and day. So I'm just gonna trace this out. Well, actually, when you have this Exacto knife, you don't even have to, but I'm going to trace it out for just to be safe, to make sure it doesn't move. So once again, and it doesn't matter which direction, if you're tracing out the backwards way or the front of your letter, but we are going to go ahead and trace out each of our letters and cut them out with this really nice little sharp blade. It is like, oh, so exciting, you guys. I can't even tell you the simple things that just make me so happy. I wish I would have known that sooner, that it would be so life-changing as far as crafts go. All right, so you'll see just how simple this is when you have a good blade. You can just cut right through that. And you get a beautiful, clean edge to it. So I'm going to cut out all my letters and then we'll move on to the next step. A little tip here on cutting out the O. If you have a nice sharp blade like this, you don't have to move the blade. You can just turn your foam core and it will cut right through it, and you have a lot more control. So you'll get a much nicer O, I guess, a much nicer curved line. And do remember too that you want to cut just on the inside of your line again, because it will be just a little larger if you don't. Okay, enough with the cutting of the letters. We get to now start putting them together. So I'm going to just start here, and I did try using E6000 for this, but it's kind of a pain. So what I found to be the best is just using hot glue. You got to work fast, and you gotta just spread it on there quickly before it starts to harden up, because you do want it to lay very flat and flush to your letter. So we're going to do that with both pieces. And I find it better to put it on the foam, because the foam being thicker seems to not let this hot glue cool down quite as quickly, so you get a little smidge more working time. So you're going to do each of your letters, and they're going to come out just like this, nice and thick and looking fabulous. Once you have all your letters glued together, they'll look like this, and the next thing we're going to do is glue some bling wrap around this outer edge to cover up that foam. So I find it easiest to start like in the weird spots, like the tight squeezes. And also I would, if I were you, apply the glue from the back, because sometimes it gets a little bit onto the silver part, and then this way it's on the back side, so it's not as big a deal. The end's one of the trickiest ones though. And if you need a toothpick or a pin or something to push it in there with, that is usually helpful. I'm just going to go around and glue all of the bling wrap around all of my letters. You can buy the bling wrap at Dollar Tree, but if it's something you use frequently, a great place to get a big fat roll of it is at Totally Dazzled, and I will leave a link down below for you. You can use it for tons of different projects, and that roll seems to just last forever and ever. It's really big. It also comes in gold color and in rose gold as well, and she may even have it in black, but not sure. Now all our letters are done with the bling wrap, so I'm going to, as I told you earlier how hard it was to cut out the center of the O, virtually impossible, I'm going to actually be gluing this brooch on there, and this is also from Totally Dazzled. It has the pin on the back, so you will need to remove that, and that comes off real easily if you have a pair of wire cutters. You just go right below it and sort of jiggle it, and it comes off real easy. Now for this, I also want to use E6000 because the hot glue won't hold permanently for this. So I'm going to use combined E6000 and hot glue. The hot glue is going to kind of keep it from sliding around, so that's our main reasoning there. And I'm just going to put little dabs, not all over it, but where it won't show. And then the hot glue, just added in a couple other spots where the pin originally was holding it. And just center that right down in the middle of your O. Now we're going to work on the part to hang this from, to actually create our, what do you call it? Not banner, but you know, the doohickey that you hang over your fireplace. Anyway, there are several different options. There's this really beautiful, I'm pretty sure I got this either from Michael's or Joann's. It was originally $1.97, but I am sure got it on sale at the end of the season. And these are two different options for cording, or you can just buy basic gold or silver cord. I had got about 4 yards here. So I have this folded in half to find my center point, and I'm going to be obviously splitting the letters to be evenly spaced on this here. And I'm actually going to be adding in some of these real cute little ornaments from Dollar Tree. They come 5 pieces to a package, which is great. And I have gold ribbons, silver letters, and silver and red snowflakes because I love the pop of red color, and I like mixing the gold and silver. This way I can use it every year because I do tend to do one or of the other, one or, you know what I mean. Anyway, so I'm going to take, my center point is here. I'm going to use one of my snowflakes and attach it right here to my cord. And I'm going to do that just by cutting this little knot part off that's already here and tying it back on. You can hot glue it if you want, but the hot glue may show a bit, so I'm just going to tie it again in place. Which is actually harder than I thought, so I'm going to end up hot gluing it because I can't get that knot tied to save my life. So I'm just going to add a little dot of hot glue there and push those strings down into it. So space out and figure out how much of your cord you need to kind of hang. I have extra so that the ends will kind of hang as swags down on the sides of my fireplace. So I don't need it to go all the way to the end, but I do want to space them out so they're kind of nicely placed across the front. I'll be putting an O over here and then maybe my E on this side, probably allowing about a good 6 or 7 inches, but it depends on how much space you have and how far you want to space them apart. I'm just going to use my hot glue to place these, and I'm putting it directly on the cord and resting that letter on there until it can dry a little bit. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. Are you getting value out of my channel? If you are, don't forget to give me a big fat thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so that you can join me for other unique and interesting crafts. I'm going to add a few more little danglies on there, and I'm going to show you this. I'm taking part in Heidi Sonbill's Friend Hop Friday, and you'll find a link below in the description box to take you on to the next crafter's video. Don't forget to leave a comment for each video that you watch, because that will enter you into the drawing to win a great prize, which who doesn't need that right now before Christmas or ever? So if you're coming to me from Heidi's channel or from one of the other fabulous crafters channels, welcome. Please don't forget, hit that subscribe button if you like what you see, and give me a thumbs up. Let me know. It's great to have you here. If you're already one of my fabulous glue dots, don't forget to check out all the other crafters along the hop. I have a Pinterest and Instagram that you can follow too, so check those out. For this second project, I made the word joy in the same way that I made the Noel sign. And if you remember in the beginning, we started out with spray painting our little box piece here that I got from Dollar Tree. So I'm going to be attaching these directly on this top part here using my hot glue and a bit of E6000 just for a little more permanent hold. And I'm going to start with the O so that I know that everything is completely centered. So kind of eyeball and see how things look to you and where they're placed. And then I usually add my E6000 first and then place it right on the center of your box. Center. That hot glue is what's going to help to keep it in place while the E6000 is drying. And we'll be adding in some little greenery and stuff, so that will help add some support. And I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue on the back side there just to give it a little more hold. Then I'm going to glue on my other two letters, and we'll start with some of the embellishments after that. One of the embellishments I'm going to do is glue on this snowflake, and obviously I don't want to glue it unless it's hanging over something. I am going to actually be cutting parts of it off so it kind of looks almost like it's imprinted on here. So kind of figure out where you would want to place it, and then you're going to cut directly across on the rest. So I'm going to be also cutting off some of this edge, and I'm going to glue it down just right on there. And I do have these other pieces that I can put in other places as well. Now I'm going to play around with a few other embellishments. I have these really pretty berries that have a little bit of the snow touch to them, and I think they're going to look really great since this kind of has a winter wonderland feel. I also have some of this little stick here with the glitter on, and I think that could be perfect too. If you want to add some greenery in there, this is kind of something that I sort of cut and glue and just attach, sort of like flower arranging, so just sort of make it your own.